Eloise in Oxonia, a creative podcast by the Oxford Writers' House. Follow English student Eloise Weaver as she moves through the city of Oxford, encountering stories, past and present. Eloise's adventures are fantasy, but the authors, people and ideas she encounters are as real as you and I.
May Day in Oxford is a blur of sights, sounds and ancient symbols. From the moment I wake up, I can feel that today will be unlike any other. I take a hot shower. Today is May morning, a day of rituals and eccentricity. As the first hint of dawn brushes the sky with pale shades of pink and orange, Iris and I walk towards Magdalen College. The streets are quiet at first, but there's an undercurrent of anticipation in the air. As we approach city centre, we flow together with many others heading in the same direction. I follow the river of people drawn towards the bell tower like metals to magnets. More and more morning revellers join us, a flow of people now surging, jostling, sleepy-eyed and itinerant. Somehow Iris and I separated in the throbbing crowd that gathers on the street and bridge around the college. The towering spire of the college stands stark against the sky. When the clock strikes 6 a.m, everything is hushed for a moment. Silence hangs heavy for a split second before the choir's voices break through it, pure, honey-rich and otherworldly. The ethereal sound of the Magdalen College choir singing Hymnus Eucharisticus echoes across the city. It's a haunting, beautiful hymn. The ancient language is carried on the fresh morning air, and the echo of it reverberates off the stone buildings. It's hard to believe that this same song has been sung in this exact spot at precisely the same time for centuries. The day rushes forward. Streets are closed to traffic. Pubs open and wanderers pile into them. We move in and out of social groups freely, hugging and kissing familiar faces, sharing drinks or gossip, running off on a whim. I find myself caught up in a storm of colour and cloud. Young and old square off in a croquet match on a college lawn. Children, their faces glowing with joy, dance around a maypole, ribbons in hand, weaving intricate patterns in the air. Face paint, fur and feathers festoon the streets. Up and down steps there are elaborate bedazzled costumes and carts offering hot and cold drinks, booths with magic or puppetry, puzzles and word scrambles traced along sidewalks. It's a manic, active afternoon. Ribbons, confetti and rubbish flutter in the breeze, and the soft clop of shoes against the cobbled ground blends with wild, animalistic laughter. The world is awake and wild, drinking its own chaos theories and spitting them back out for effect or confirmation. Hypothesis? The world is going mad. Tested and reiterated, proven and verified. The nerves of Oxford are charged with an electric pulse of sunlight and music. Students in academic gowns are out in full force too, some chatting excitedly in groups, others clutching books or rushing to meet friends. Odd combinations of town and gown congregate in pubs or cluster on lawns and doorsteps to celebrate the arrival of spring. Laughter mixes with the clink of glasses. Beer foam splashes across wooden benches, blessing asphalt with pagan cheer. By midday, the whole town appears to be drunk. I find myself by the River Choral alone, seeking a bit of peace after all the noise. The scent of the river, fresh and earthy, blends with the fragrance of the trees and flowers in a moment of pure calm. The soft lapping of the water against the banks and the gentle hum of nature are a peaceful backdrop to a day full of life and excitement. I have to stay relatively sober. Tonight, I will be playing cards at the Ace of Clubs. In the early evening, I put on my best clothes and brushed my hair back into a sturdy bun. In passing out of college, I meet Iris and Omari and kiss their flushed cheeks. Iris squeezes my hand hard. They are on the way to see Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, performing on the University College lawn. We say goodbye, and I walk alone up Cowley Road. I pass pharmacies, community centres and restaurants, pubs and charity shops, and nearly miss the Ace of Clubs entrance. Its exterior could be mistaken for any other terraced house on the street, unassuming, with only a tiny symbolic black Club A insignia over the doorbell. A tiny insignia, exactly the same as the ones I have seen before. I ring the bell. It sounds distant and ominous. After what feels like a lifetime, there is a shuffle of footsteps, and then the clang of metal as someone unbolts the door from within. A short, beady-eyed man answers the door with a curt, "Hello, Eloise. Follow me. We're all expecting you." My eyes adjust to the darkness as I step through the time-worn door and follow the man at a slow pace into a rather large, dimly lit room. The air is thick with the musty scent of books and incense. I enter a wide room that is a strange fusion of the classical and the absurd, with velvet curtains drawn tight against the outside world. Faded portraits of authors hang over the ornate wallpaper like watchful sentinels. I spot familiar faces: Tolkien, Sayers, Carroll, Sontag, Wilde, Heaney, Bates, Lewis, Christie, each a towering figure from the annals of history, with painted eyes fixed straight ahead, indifferent to the odd gathering below, timeless and indifferent. Beneath all these likenesses, on a high table at the end of the room, sit a group of middle-aged academics. I recognise Professor Mead, who does not make eye contact. The academics are wearing hooded robes. Their long shadows stretch over the carpeted floor. It feels as though I've wandered into a dream stitched together from an old, forgotten fable. I take a seat at the single small table below them, careful not to disturb the peculiar scene already unfolding before me. The 8, I've counted them, and there are 8, professors rise and remove their outer robes, ceremoniously, revealing even more sartorial eccentricities below. One wears a velvet smoking jacket, another wears a tweed coat, another is covered entirely in yellow and purple feathers. Each is dressed in what can only be described as clothing born of a fever dream or a bad drug-induced hallucination. One of the academics gestures to the rest of the room, and all eyes follow. "The zodiac is not a mere superstition, as I was saying last week," he declares loudly, speaking to no one in particular. His deep voice sounds like it has been plucked straight from an ancient myth. He continues, "The stars are a map of the human soul. Did not Wilde himself say that man is but a cipher, destined to be rewritten by the stars?" There is a murmur of approval along the high table. "Then let us begin interpreting, as it is the evening of May morning." The professor in the purple smoking jacket is the first to acknowledge me. His face lights up with a gleam of feigned recognition, though I've never met the man in my life. "Ah, Eloise Weaver, our guest of honour. Welcome to the Order of Literature," he says with an enthusiasm that borders on theatrical. He raises a bejewelled goblet to the sky, and all eyes turn to me expectantly, as though I'm supposed to be impressed. Feeling the eyes of the professors glower down on me like the oppressive, fragrant heat of the room makes me feel as if I'm shrinking. We are just waiting for one more guest to begin the formal procedures. Apropos of nothing whatsoever, another professor carries on the first line of thought. "Ah, the stars," she says, sighing and gesturing blindly, as though trying to summon a constellation from nothingness. "They predict the rise of all literary heroes, of course. The zodiac is a map, a key to understanding our place in the grand narrative. Didn't Wilde say that we are all just the product of the stars' whimsical dance?" The professor in feathers chimes in, shedding as he gestures back using strange, spider-like hand movements. Yes, quite. and Heaney's the forge. It's a cosmic metaphor for the union between heaven and earth. Can't you see it? The hammer strikes the anvil, and the spark leaps to the stars. More hums of approval reverberate around the room. Another figure leaps up from her seat, her technicolor robe flowing like a living entity. She speaks in an antiquated way, and her voice sounds as if it is submerged in jelly. "But you're all missing the point," she gurgles, holding out her arms dramatically. "It's about automatic writing. It's about channeling the spirits of the canonical authors directly, calling them forth to guide us in our search for hidden truths." Having made her claim, she flops back down and begins scribbling urgently on a piece of paper in front of her, eyes rolled back in a trance. "Channeling," another one interrupts, pouring wine from a paisley patterned teapot. "Yes, channeling is the true key to everything. When I write, I channel Carol himself. Wonderland isn't a place, it's a state of mind." He pulls a deck of cards from his pocket and begins shuffling them with extra human speed. "It's all a game, you see. Life is a game. Literature is a game. Everything is connected. Everything is meaningful. A game of symbols and archetypes." He laughs maniacally. The professors seem to be sharing a strange form of collective madness. Somehow, though, their words resonate, and in the fascination of the spectacle I fail to hear the door open again, until I see the new arrival in front of me. It's Jax. He sits down gingerly across from me, looking slightly frightened and confused, smaller and less confident than usual. Faced with the perplexing situation, I feel a sudden kinship with him. As the figures begin to chant over a green piece of ceremonial felt, he makes eye contact and mouths to me silently. What the hell? So this is his first time here too. Chanting complete, the woman in technicolor lays the felt on the table between us and begins dealing cards. I try to make myself as small as possible in my chair, aware that I'm surrounded by people who seem to live in a world where reason and insanity are regular dance partners. This society is nothing like I imagined. They speak in half sentences, weaving together quotes from authors who may or may not have written what they say they wrote. It's an intellectual cult of some kind, and this, evidently, is our initiation into membership. Out of nowhere, a serious voice cuts through the melodrama like a knife. "Welcome, Eloise Weaver, the prodigy, and Jacoby Kingsley Harrington, the rightful heir." I strengthen in my seat, trying to keep composure. "Jax," I say under my breath, keeping my voice even. "I didn't know you were invited." He laughs in a low, knowing way. "The invitation came, and obviously I had to know." He shrugs, his eyes glittering. "But I have to admit it's rather amusing to find you here, Eloise. I thought you were too practical for this kind of thing. This sort of madness runs in my family. I'm better suited to it." The gaze of the professors flicker back and forth like they're watching a tennis match. Professor Mead grins broadly, finally acknowledging us. "A challenge between the two of you. How delightful! The perfect test for new members." A man plastered in glitter and rhinestones who has clearly had too much to drink claps his hands together loudly. "Yes, yes! A metacognitive contest! Our interview consists of a simple game of cards. Blind Don. We'll play the game as a battle of minds. The loser..." He pauses for dramatic effect, clearly enjoying himself. "The loser must end the other's life. It's the only fair way to determine who is immortal." I blink. "Sorry, what?" The academics ignore this outburst and all nod seriously, as though this is a perfectly reasonable proposition. Even Jax looks unruffled by the suggestion. "There's no other way," the man continues. "It's tradition, a necessary sacrificial tradition. The loser will be taken off their course, removed from their path of progress, eliminated from the race, dislodged from the pilgrimage, excised from the exercise. Sign here." In a flourish, he produces a feathered pen and scroll to sign. I must be just as mad as Jax because we both sign under the terms and conditions. It is as if we are in a trance, unable to say no or even think critically about the stakes of the game. The cards are dealt. Jax pulls his chair closer. His eyes never leave mine, and at one point our knees lightly touch. "Whenever you're ready, darling," Jax says, his voice dripping with patronising sarcasm. The celebrant continues. "As always, we pay respect to the cards. There are 9. 9 cards, each representing one of the dons present here, as well as our new member, and present for all time in every possible world as stars and authors. A symbol, a piece of the cosmic puzzle. We honour this new deck of cards as vessels for the spirits of the literary figures we channel." He pauses dramatically, letting that all sink in. "They contain power. They must be respected." The professors hum the suits and numbers of the cards quietly under their breaths. We begin. Cards shimmer in my hands as I try to concentrate. We play for what feels like hours, each of us making bold, impossible moves. Jax is an insufferable genius at games like this, and I feel my mind stretching to keep up. He plays precisely the way a computer would play. I follow what feels right in response. The professors watch, murmuring to themselves, entertained by the spectacle. One of them comments loudly, "The heir plays by the rules. The prodigy plays by instinct. Pedantry against intuition. An ancient battle. How absolutely appropriate to the dilemma facing the consciousness of this generation." On the final turn, I play a card that forces Jax into an untenable position. The room goes quiet, and I feel a rush of triumph flood through me, the sense of victory sharp and sweet. Jax stares at the cards in front of him, then up at me. There's a brief moment of silence. Professor Mead claps her hands. "And that settles it. Eloise Weaver has won. Welcome to the Order of Literature." The room breaks out into applause. "And you, Jacobi, must now pay the ultimate price." I feel my stomach churn. The small, beady-eyed man approaches. Suddenly I recognise him as the ticket master from the River Isis, and, most likely, the assailant who snuck into my room to set the cards on fire. He hands Jax a parchment paper. The paper is burnt along the edges, presumably for effect. "Read this poem to your enemy and die," the man chirps enthusiastically. Jax clears his throat and reads.
NGC 3949, a galaxy in Ursa Major whose formation mirrors almost exactly that of our own. Back from the perforated dark and growing distance, Hubble's milky image brings us to ourselves. The echo pitched up from the moss-wet well, a lover's shape, that indelible stain on the iris. Years down the line, you swear blind the cut and sway of a dark form is hurt. Neon dazzles the rain-slicked street as you wave away the cab and push back down through the crowd into the bar. Pilot charting the wrong star by candlelight, leagues off course. The face, of course, is another's. In this spiral galaxy, the arms embrace the core. Not her or your idea of her, and never will be. It doesn't matter how beautiful your guess is.
When he finishes, Jax looks at me with real pain in his eyes. "Can I go now?" he asks meekly. The man with the beady eyes nods solemnly. "So death was a metaphor." I breathe a sigh of relief as I watch Jax disappear. "Now, Eloise Weaver, you may read this. It is your fate The cards have declared it on this May Day, and we have all borne witness. You are one of us now. You will receive a permanent scholarship with the Order. Your life will never change. You will never leave Oxonia. You will read, write, and keep the practices of our Order. The professors stand and put on their robes, humming together in unison. He hands me a parchment. Read this, he commands. This is your destiny.
This is it, my great good luck? Were I misguided enough to declare a passion for a man of royal blood, for any man, given who I am, you would be merciless and I would be a laughing stock. What is this painted process? You call this a happy ending? In what version?
Listener, 8 years have passed. You may not believe me, but I have found a kind of immortality here, surrounded by secrets, after-dinner repartee, card games, sherry and port. Each week, the Order gathers in secret to read medieval systems of symbols and discuss esoteric subjects I'm not at liberty to share. The Order of Literature has offered me a lifelong scholarship to Inner Oxonia. Week after week, I become more remote, like a cloud, a bodiless soul, an entity, an impression made in disappearing ink. I have deleted all my online profiles and taken on 12 different nom de plumes. I exist in a remote place, untraceable and ubiquitous, like salt or air. My thoughts swirl with abstract questions and complex solutions to abstruse problems. I spent hours, days and months contentedly visiting ghosts in the library, feeling closer and closer to them. Omari works in international diplomacy now. Iris and I correspond occasionally by letter. She moved back to Paris and paints ceramics. Jax disappeared. We never spoke after the fateful card game. I like to think of him as either reformed or dead, but I suspect he isn't either of those things. The rest of our college family went into finance. I'm here in Oxonia, alone, poking holes in theories, still clawing at the metaphysical sky, haunted by poetic fragments shored against my ruin. But I can always talk to you, listener, since you don't exist. Or do you? Someday, I hope you will play this game too. Then you will see how easy it is to realise an idea. You can kill anything, except an idea.
Episode 12 of Eloise in Oxonia was produced by Sid Walter and written by Dr. April Power. The episode features original readings by Esme Rhodes, Judith Bunting and Kian Power. Adam Oroyden and Lavina Greenlaw read their own original poetry. This is the final episode of our 12-part series. The podcast is made possible by the support of the Oxford Writers' House. Follow Oxford Writers' House on our website and social media, where new podcast offering will appear in upcoming academic year. All 12 episodes of Eloise and Oxonia are free to listen to and share, and all rights are reserved. Special thanks go to the Poetry Archive for their expert support.